Are you a reseller that cringes anytime you have to think about your reselling finances or when tax time rolls around? Then this video is for you. I used to be the exact same way. I used to avoid tax time, and when it came, I was scrambling and up until midnight, several nights a week, trying to figure out my numbers and get everything organized so that I could file my tax. If you find yourself doing the same, keep watching and I will give you all my best tips for keeping your finances organized and getting ready for tax time. Hi, my name is Eileen. Welcome to Hustle and Slow, my channel all about making money from home for regular people and building multiple streams of income. My goal is to inspire you and provide you with the information so that you can build multiple streams of income and work from home too, because I think everybody can do it. I started as a stay-at-home mom to a 1-year-old, reselling on the side when he was napping and on weekends, and now I fully support my family full-time while my husband is a stay-at-home dad and we travel full-time. So if I can make money from home, then so can you. I'm not special and I think everybody can do it. For a long time when I was reselling, I just really didn't know my numbers. I figured I was making a profit and I would kind of calculate things in my head, but I wasn't really sure what my numbers were or how I was doing until tax time. And then I was spending hours and hours and hours trying to figure out my numbers and calculate everything out and get everything organized. I know there are a lot of other resellers, and this may be you, where you don't know your numbers, you don't know how much profit you're making, and at tax time you are scrambling, chugging coffee, and trying to get everything organized so that you can provide it to your tax professional or do the taxes yourself. Hopefully this video will give you some insight on how to stay organized, know your numbers, and what to do to make sure that you can do your taxes on time and you're not feeling like you're scrambling. I do want to say that I am not a tax professional, and any advice I give in here is from my own personal experience. I highly recommend working with a tax professional yourself if you have specific questions. I unfortunately cannot answer them because, like I said, I am not a tax professional, but I do want to give this information for informational purposes, and hopefully you can go and verify it yourself with somebody who is licensed. Before I get started, make sure you like this video and you subscribe if you want to see more videos about making money from home and building multiple streams of income. All right, let's get started with my tips for reseller taxes and finances. So my first and biggest tip is to get advice from a tax professional. I held off on this for a long time because I figured it was just too expensive to pay someone to help me with my taxes, and I was wrong. It was so worth it because having somebody that knows what they're doing and having the peace of mind of knowing you have somebody that knows what they're doing is worth so much money, and it really isn't as expensive as I thought it was going to be. But if you can't afford to hire a tax professional, then I highly recommend my actual CPA's course. It's called Reseller Tax Academy, and it teaches you all about everything you need to know about reseller finances and taxes. Even as someone who has been doing business online for over 10 years, I learned so much and took so many notes during this course, and I think it is so important for anybody who is a reseller to take this course unless you already know a lot about taxes and figuring out your numbers. I think this is great for every reseller, and it is tax deductible. If you want to check out the Reseller Tax Academy, I will link to it down below with my affiliate code. I really do recommend it, and if you go through it, you can kind of get to know your numbers better, and he will teach you everything you need to know, what you need to keep track of, how to figure out your inventory at the end of the year, and all that important stuff that you need to know for tax time. The next thing is to keep your finances separate. I've mentioned this in other videos before. You don't have to have like a special business account to keep your finances separate. Just opening a separate checking account where you put all of your income into and take all your money for your expenses out of is so important to keeping your business finances organized. If you're using your personal account that you also use at Starbucks or at the grocery store, it's going to be really hard for you to filter out the transactions that are business related versus the transactions that are personal. So keeping those separate by just getting a separate account is really important. Of course, you're going to want to save for taxes because if you're making an income, you're going to have to pay a tax on that income. A quick Google search is going to show you that you want to save about 30 to 35% of your taxable income. I personally save about 15% of my gross income because I find this a little bit easier, and I use the profit first method, which I will talk about in a second, but I save about 15% of my gross income. You need to figure out what number works best for you. Previously, I've saved 25% and then I lowered it down to 20, and I was still saving a little bit too much. But the good thing about saving it too much is that you can always take that as a bonus when tax time comes. If you save too much, once you pay your taxes, then you can keep the rest as your tax bonus. What I do is I take that money each week and I put it into a separate bank account, and I don't touch that account until tax time when it's time to pay my taxes. Next, you're going to want to read Profit First. If you haven't already bought this book, my recommendation, which I recommend it I think in like every other video that I do, then I highly recommend grabbing it. It really changed the way that I keep my finances and my business organized and how I kind of allocate my funds to make sure that I have enough money to pay myself and pay for all of my expenses. It kind of just teaches you how to split your income into different categories so that you know how much you have to spend on inventory, how much you have to pay yourself, and all of that kind of stuff. It's hard to explain, but I really recommend the book. It's not a super long book and it's not super hard to understand, but it's great once you start implementing it. It literally changed my whole business. When you first start with the process, you might be shocked to find how much you're spending on your operating expenses and how little you have to put in your owner's pay account. At the beginning, I was spending probably, I think it was close to 70 to 80% of my income was going to operating expenses. So I had very little to save for taxes, to save for profit, and to pay myself. So going through this book kind of helped me figure out where I was as a baseline and then improve my numbers. And now I'm able to put 60% of my income into my owner's pay account, which is where I get my paychecks from. Next, you're going to want to deal with your receipts. What do you do with all of those receipts? And my answer to that is to scan them. Don't keep them in a shoebox or in piles all around your house. Just scan them. When I get home from sourcing, I literally take out all my receipts out of my bag and I lay them out on the table and I will scan them one by one into my Dropbox account. If you don't have Dropbox, which is just an app where you can save a bunch of files, there are other scanning apps where you can scan things from or use your phone as a scanner and then upload it as a file. I've actually never had to refer back to my receipts in the past, but it's good to save them, and I'd rather have a digital version of them than keep a bunch of receipts. What I do is I create a new folder each year where I save all of my receipts as individual files with the date and the name of the store that I shopped at as the name of the file. So how do you actually keep track of your finances? So I actually keep track in two different ways. The first thing is just for myself, for my own purposes, so that I can see my income or my profit for each item and just kind of keep track of my inventory. And that's the reseller dashboard, which is a spreadsheet that I made on Airtable for myself and then decided to share with you guys. You can find the link for that down below. This allows me to see how much I profited on each item and kind of keep track in that way. But then what I do for tax purposes is I actually have a GoDaddy bookkeeping account that links to all of my bank accounts, and on a weekly basis I will just go through and categorize everything. So I have my income and expenses on there, and at tax time all I have to do is download the Schedule C and send it off to my tax guy. Another popular option is QuickBooks, which I have tried using, but I'm just so used to GoDaddy bookkeeping that I'm just going to stick with that for now. And then the last thing is something that I just came up with about a year, maybe a little bit longer ago, which is Friday finances. So every Friday I spend some time working on my finances. That's when I catch up on everything finance related. That way I don't fall behind because I haven't touched my GoDaddy account or paid myself or done anything in months. This keeps me from falling behind on keeping track of my finances and getting everything categorized in my GoDaddy bookkeeping account. It simply means that on Fridays, I sit down for however long it takes, usually it's 15 to 30 minutes at most, and I go through my GoDaddy bookkeeping account and I categorize all my income and expenses. I allocate my funds using the Profit First method. Like I said, go read Profit First, and then I pay myself my paycheck every single Friday. So those are my best tips for keeping your finances organized and being ready for tax time. Ever since I've kind of implemented all of these, I am scrambling at tax time a lot less. In fact, this year I had my taxes done before the end of February, and I'm really proud of that because usually I'm one of those people turning it in right on the due date or even being a little bit late. So if you're like that, definitely take this advice into consideration and see if you can get yourself a little bit more organized, and definitely check out the Reseller Tax Academy. It is huge as far as helping you understand your finances and understand what you do need to keep track of for taxes so that you can do it yourself if you have to. But even if you don't do it yourself, you have all the information that you need so that you know how to figure out what your numbers are and what you need to track for taxes. If you learned anything new, I would love to hear that in the comments below. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them below. If they are specific tax questions, I probably can't answer them because, like I said, I'm not a licensed tax professional, but I will do my best to help you out. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe if you want to see more videos from me about reselling, making money from home for regular people, and building multiple streams of income. Thanks. Bye.